Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. So great to be along with you today. Listen, we have a big story for you that nobody's talking about. And this is the idea that the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, actually had a study in its possession that was conducted by Russia. The study was in the 1950s, that Russia said it found very compelling evidence that anti-parasitic medications was curing/treating cancer and malignant tumors along with killing parasites, and that there were some real similarities between parasites and the malignant tumor. Now, in the 1950s, this is a groundbreaking study. Can you imagine the pain and suffering that would have been saved if the CIA didn't classify this and bury it? Well, later they release it, but it's been released for over a decade, and nobody has acted upon this until the wellness company started their research on ivermectin and mebendazole, an anti-parasite cleanse, but had great effects on cancer, 84% clinical benefit to those patients they studied with cancer. We've talked about that before, but this idea that the CIA would hide this, who knows what could have happened? If you're interested in that formulation from the wellness company, I urge you to go to their website, twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. It's a great parasite cleanse. I think every American actually should go through one at least once or twice a year. But beyond that, if you're suffering from cancer, I would do your research, talk to the doctors at the wellness company, and consider using this formulation. It seems to have great benefits. twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. All right, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, thank you for joining me, everyone. I want to bring in a good friend of mine, Dr. James Thorpe, to the program. He is with the Wellness Company. Dr. Thorpe, it's always good to see you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me back again, Grant. So good to see you.
All right, Doc, you and I believe we've even talked about the study by the Wellness Company, and I want to talk about that in a moment. But this idea that the CIA was aware, let's say, of the potential, to give the benefit of the doubt, the potential of anti-parasite drugs to have a great effect on treating and maybe even curing cancer, and they classify it and nobody does anything with it. What's going on here?
Yeah, let me, for those naysayers, those of you who have gone to AI to confirm this, like I did, and you'll get misinformation, disinformation from AI, because remember, AI only draws from the mainstream media and from published medical journals. So, the AI says this is a hoax. And just to convince you and prove that it is true, I have the paper right in front of me that I'm looking at. So on record, I want to tell you that the date is October 1950. This is in a scientific peer-reviewed medical journal periodical called Prirota. Now, not from Russia, because remember, Russia really didn't exist then. That was the USSR, the Soviet Union. And it was in Prirota, volume 39, and that's in Roman numerals, number 10, pages 29 through 27. I have it right in front of me, and I'm looking at it.
And Doc, what's the date of that? Does that go back to the 1950s?
Yes, that was published in October of 1950.
Unbelievable. So it's there. I never doubt it. My producers over at Real America's Voice actually pulled maybe what you're looking at. They actually had the declassified page from the CIA that had once said classified, now declassified. And they talked about, what was it, a drug called Miracell? Is that Miracell D? Was the anti-parasite drug that was effective, now not mebendazole and ivermectin, but an anti-parasitic drug, to say the least.
Absolutely. They talk about the parasites, and I want to be careful. some people will say that parasites cause cancers, and that might be true, but I don't think it's accurate. I think that there's some very, very strong associations and similarities, and that's what the Russians noted. Just to cite a few, both of a parasitic species, whichever it is, and a cancer have several very common similarities. Number one, they're dependent upon sugar, glucose, and they convert it to glycogen. They can't use fat for energy stores. Number two, they secrete growth factors, angiogenic factors that allow them to grow. And number three, they cannot die off like normal cells do in a natural process called apoptosis. And number four, and perhaps the most striking, is they both are treated, and according to some research, successfully treated and cured by anti-parasitic medications. So those are the facts that I can state.
Why then, Doctor, would the CIA bury this, classify it, and at the very least not bring in scientists, have them sign a classified document that says they're not going to reveal it, and let some of the drug companies start working on this? Why would they just bury it?
Well, that's a really important question. And I want to focus on that because we're in a different life right now. I was born in 1953, so that paper came out 3 years before I was born. But I served as an active duty military Air Force officer in the height of the Cold War. So there was a tremendous amount of fear and circumspection between the United States of America and the USSR. And each of us were doing psyops against each other, heavy duty. So I don't want to make the assumption that the CIA did this purposefully to hurt Americans. Maybe, giving them the benefit of the doubt, they were suppressing it because they might have thought it could have been a psyops and we would have picked it up, used it, and maybe harmed a lot of Americans. I don't know. That's just one possibility. But you are correct. The CIA did suppress it, and it was released, 2010, 2011, thereabouts.
So it seems to me we're given great benefit of the doubt to think they were concerned about us, which is why they suppressed it, because at the very least, you could try to confirm it on your own. I mean, it's the CIA. You could go and make sure that people over at NIH are operating under classified information status and try to get them to confirm it. I think it was more nefarious. I think in the end that all the big pharma, the CIA, and remember there were all kinds of secret drug trials going on. The CIA was using drugs on, I can't remember what the name of that operation was, but there were all these things going on. I think everybody was in cahoots, Doc.
Well, there were several operations going on. Of course, one of the names of the operations was, Operation Mockingbird and Operation Mongoose and MK Ultra and many other operations that have proven it. And just for the record, Grant, I agree with you. It was probably nefarious. I'm just trying to put in all possibilities. But you're correct. And the very fact that it's been suppressed since it was released in 2010, and the very fact that the powers that be, the massive power and money-making machinery of the pharmaceutical companies and the cancer industry, and of course the government is involved with this. They've made billions and billions and billions of dollars off chemotherapies. And you and I both know, and I think the American people know now, that the government and the pharmaceutical companies want us sick because that's how they make all their money. And the same can be said for war. They want us at war because that's the way they make a lot of money on both ends of the war, making armaments and then getting the contracts for BlackRock to rebuild.
You had, while you were speaking, I just went and I pulled what my producers had pulled for me last night, and that is this. So for anybody that was thinking that this is disinformation or misinformation, this is the classified document by the CIA that spells out what was going on with this parasite study. And so if anybody wants to claim that we're lying to you or this isn't true, there's the proof right there. We've got the documents, and I know the wellness company has confirmed this as well, Dr. Thorpe.
Absolutely, absolutely, and our study is just a real stunning study. This is a first world of its kind, a patient respondent study looking at almost 200 patients taking our parasitic cleanse. Now, our parasitic cleanse is composed of ivermectin 25 milligrams, mebendazole 250 milligrams in one capsule. And what our respondents self-reported is really nothing short of stunning. And there were almost 33% after 6 months on this therapy, and many of these had advanced disease. They had no evidence of disease. Some experts would classify that as a cure. Is that 33% were cured, perhaps? And then we're looking at another 13% that had a significant reduction in the cancer volume or the cancer burden, if you will.
All right.
And then another 36% had no progression of the disease. They were stable. So that equals 84% clinical benefit ratio. That's stunning compared to what one would expect. You know, if you look at in most of these cases, cancers, this was a heterogeneous group of cancers. The most common cancer in our study was breast cancer, followed by prostatic cancer and others. But, you know, most studies that look at a clinical benefit ratio, you're looking at somewhere around 50%, not 84%.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, really. And is there any evidence or any maybe even thought that it needs to be studied that this ivermectin and benzol combination could be used as a preventative? That, you know, I know a lot of people take ivermectin on a daily basis. Could it be used as a preventative for cancer?
There's unfortunately no studies. As you know, we funded this study ourselves, and the government and pharmaceutical companies won't fund these studies. I'm involved with a completely separate private research group, the Advanced Biological Research Group, which I'm a founding member among 5 others. And, you know, we have studies on the table that are IRB approved and ready to go, but nobody will fund them. And it involves very important information like this. But yes, it's possible that ivermectin and mebendazole could be used prophylactically. As you know, we do have a prophylactic product, and you know that Dr. Kelly Victory has been promoting that, as has For the Wellness Company, all over the media. But in terms of using ivermectin and mebendazole or fenbendazole prophylactically, we don't have enough data. We need more studies, more research monies from the NIH, or more private donors. Pharmaceutical companies won't do it.
Well,
you know, let me put in the really sick part of this equation is that oncologists are the only physician specialty in the United States of America that can actually sell these drugs out of their own office and make profit off it. And they make hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit of pushing chemotherapies, which, by the way, cripple the immune system. They don't hit the cancer stem cells, which are still lie dormant and go all over the body. And they're massively expensive. The average round of chemotherapy is annually is $111,000. Some of the more advanced therapies are $250,000 a year.
Wow.
Our product is a couple thousand a year.
Yeah. Well, I would tell people, and I've really been pushing this after talking to Nicholas Holscher, who I know you know and is involved with the study at the Wellness Company. He thought $1 million could get this study done. I'm urging a private donor. That's what I want, a private donor to just write a check for $1 million, do a full-blown study. The Wellness Company and Nicholas and you and Dr. McCullough are set up. He tells me that you guys could do this study, and I think that's imperative. But for anybody out there that wants to give this a try, twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off of this exact formulation that was used in the study, ivermectin and mebendazole. twc.health/grant. A doctor will call you, talk about your situation, and write you the prescription and send it right to your doorstep if it's a good fit for you. So talk to them about it. There's no pressure, no stress, no anything. Just all doctors who are critical thinkers. That's what the Wellness Company is about. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. I'll tell you, Doc, a little personal story just about critical thinkers. From a personal perspective, my son would probably kill me if he knew I was going to say this, but he is an athlete, and he's a very big kid. He's 6'4", 260 pounds. He needs to shed a little weight. He knows he needs to shed weight. The diet's not working for him. He wanted to try these GLP-1s. I didn't like it. I know the Wellness Company has some pill form GLP-1s, and for some people it works well. Well, his mom takes him to the doctor. And I said, you got to find me a good doctor who can critically think. Well, the doctor said, okay, we could start him on a low-dose GLP-1. And I don't really know. Like, I'm still kind of torn on it. But I said, I want to talk to this doctor because she brought up peptides with him. And I'm a big peptide user. I use peptides. I think they're great, and I do think they need more study. But I'm 57 years old. It's worth the risk for me. And they're doing really well for me. So he says, well, this GLP-1 is FDA approved. As soon as he said FDA approved, I said, that doesn't mean shit. Excuse my language, that it's FDA approved. I said, I want to talk to the doctor. Well, he calls me. And this is where I want people to be bold. And Dr. Thorpe, you got to back me up on this. Just because they have an MD next to their name doesn't make them smarter than you, doesn't make them be able to critically think more than you. They may have more training in a certain field than you, but it doesn't make them better at analyzing things. You've got to be bold and ask questions. So I said, right.
100% spot on, Grant.
Okay, good. So
you are your own best advocate. Nobody can advocate better than you for your family members. I don't care who the doctor is. They have bias. Don't trust any of the doctors or any of the nurses, including me. Go do your own due diligence.
It's true. Now, I would say that about you. If Stinchfield Army has now watched me for years, trust me. They've now watched you probably for years. You've been coming on this program for a couple years now, maybe more. You learn to trust people, and you go to places where you trust and you respect, but you still have to do your own homework. So out of the gate, Doc, out of the gate, right on this phone conversation with this guy. Now he sounds like a nice guy on the phone, right? And I'm pretty good at sizing people up. He sounds nice, younger, reasonable. I said, Doc, I'm going to ask you right out of the gate. This is going to set the tone for everything. I said, where are you on the COVID vaccine? And because he's a pediatrician. Where are you on the COVID vaccine? And he instantly says, we do not offer that here. We do not recommend that here. And we do not push that on our patients here.
God bless him. Get him on your show.
Yeah, I said, now we can have a conversation. So anyway, we may try these GLP-1s. My son is really, he really wants to shed some weight. I don't know.
Can I give you some suggestions?
I would love it. Doc.
Okay. Here's what I would do is and I have a lot of personal experience with this. I would go to the wellness company and I would use the sublingual tirzepatide. I am very uncomfortable with using the injectables. Now, tirzepatide, the product that we have available is a 6 milligram sublingual. That means it goes under the tongue, and I can tell you some personal stories of it, and I don't think that my wife would mind at all if I used her. Now, my wife is beautiful. She's literally just had her 60th birthday, but she looks like a 28-year-old supermodel. But she's very athletic, and she was very thin, but she was addicted to sugar, severe sugar addiction. So her doctor tried to give her injectable tirzepatide to treat her addiction to sugar, and not for weight loss. And I talked her out of the injectable, and we used the 6 milligram sublingual tab. She only uses 3 milligrams a day. I'm here to tell you that she responded immediately. She completely lost her addiction to sugar. Now, she's lost a little bit of weight, maybe a little bit more than she should have, but I would strongly consider that people maybe give this a thought. Now, I don't know what GLP-1 the doctor was trying to put on your son, but I would consider the sublingual tirzepatide. And by the way, I have another patient that had the exact same response to my wife. It works on the brain. Sugar, this goes back to our discussion of cancer and parasites. Sugar is cancer promoting, it's parasite promoting. Sugar cripples the immune system. Sugar causes a dysfunction in the immune system and causes inflammation, increases the risk of bacterial, viral, and parasitic infections.
Sugar's
very
awful.
important.
Sugar's awful. It really is a killer, I believe. And so this is interesting you bring this up. Well, first off, your wife and my son, they're each going to kill the two of us for talking about them on this podcast. But I do think it's for the greater good of everyone involved. My son is addicted to sugar. That is his biggest problem. He is a sugar fiend. And I think that's where he struggles. So maybe this is the idea: is go with the wellness company's sublingual drop. And
no, tirzepatide. No, not drop.
Not drop, but sublingual. It's drops that you put under your mouth, right? Or is it a pill
No,
you put under your mouth?
It's a pill.
Oh, I see.
Sublingual pill, 6 milligram. It's sublingual. It goes under your tongue, and it bypasses the gut, because those big blood vessels under your tongue absorb it and take it right into your blood system.
I see. Okay.
Tirzepatide. TERZ.
What is Wegovy? Do you know what that one is?
It's a peptide.
It's a peptide. All right. So that's what he wanted. That was the name that he mentioned to his mom, was Wegovy, and a small dose of that. But you know me, I trust you. I think maybe this tirzepatide sublingual is the way to go. And plus, coming out of the wellness company, I know that it's the quality is great, and they're not going to push anything that's crazy on us.
Give it a try, and if he wants to start out, if he's at 250 pounds, maybe he wants to start out for a week at break the pill in half, or just start out at the full 6 milligrams and give it a try.
Yeah.
And follow the instructions. And I want to hear back from you. If it works, it's been really miraculous in Maggie. I mean, she went from literally eating hundreds of grams of sugar a day.
All right, so here's the tough question, because I mean, you look, I'm not going to brag, but you look at me, I'm in good shape. You're in good shape, Doc. We're older guys and we're in good shape. We try to keep ourselves that way. So I believe you have to eat right. I believe you have to set the habits. My biggest fear is, okay, I take this sublingual, or my son does, and he loses the weight, but unless he learns the habits, I mean, once he stops taking it, does the cravings for sugar come back, or does your wife have to take this for the rest of her life?
That's a great question. I think that answer is not definitively. We don't have a conclusive answer on that because there hasn't been follow-up data. I look at it as, say, one of these medications that's used. It's no matter what the addiction is, whether the addiction is food, sugar, alcohol, drugs, sex, pornography, it's the same part of the brain, and it works at the level of the brain. And hopefully, as if you take this for a period of time, whatever that period of time is, it will retrain the brain to not crave and eat sugar.
All right. So, and the last question is, one of the concerns was that it goes to eat muscle first. So I told him the way to combat that is vigorous exercise. You've got to be lifting weights. You can't just take this and hope it's a miracle drug. You've got to be lifting weights. Otherwise, it will go, under the way I understand it, it will go to your muscle first unless you're working out, Doc.
Yeah, I think we have to be very careful of that. We're monitoring both of our muscle masses and our fat content, and Maggie and I, in using sophisticated metrics. And Maggie has not lost any muscle mass.
Good. All right, good. Well, this is interesting. These are the things, like, nobody really has these in-depth discussions. People always want the quick miracle drug. And so I'll say this. I know the product from the wellness company is good. I know Peter Galuli, the CEO, he wouldn't put a product out there if he didn't believe in it. He's the first one that started to talk me into the GLP-1s, that they can be beneficial for people. But I will say this, nothing is a miracle drug. You have to change the way you eat and exercise. If you don't combine the two of them with this and just use it as a tool, not a miracle, you're going to be disappointed in the end when you go off it. There's no doubt in my mind. You have to use it. Correct, Doc?
Amen. 100%. You're spot on, Grant.
Yeah.
As usual.
Well, it's great talking to you. We're just about out of time. I was going to get to Ron Johnson, but I'll save it for the next time you come on, because he had some great stuff about COVID. Right. But this was, we got off on a tangent, but I think this is useful information for people out there as well. Dr. James Thorpe, thank you as always for coming on, and please give your wife my best, and we will talk soon.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. And folks, let me tell you where you could go get, look, if you want that sublingual trizepatide, the wellness company is the place to get it from. Okay. twc.health/grant. See the benefits I get from these podcasts. I get to do things like this, and then, I get free doctor advice, but so do you from coming in here and listening. We got free doctor advice from Dr. Thorpe, and he's one of the best. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. That's sublingual trizepatide. That may be the route we go for sure. And then, of course, the parasite cleanse, which is now being used to treat cancer, mebendazole and ivermectin. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. Of course, for all of these, a doctor's going to call you and talk to you about it. And these are great doctors, too, by the way. This is not some phone farm. They really care about you. And their business model is your success. Because the more success you have with all of these products, the more you go spread the word, and more people join the wellness company on their quest for a healthy, better life. twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. I appreciate you watching, everybody. Don't forget the Rav Show tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Real America's Voice, everywhere where you can find streaming shows, Roku, Pluto, etc., and my website, grantstinchfield.com. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you soon.